Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, interesting film, I think you'll agree. And very prescient in today's climate of globalization and corporations taking over. There was a remake made in 2002, which sort of missed the point of the whole storyline and actually concentrated most on the game itself rather than what it was supposed to be about. The game was peripheral to really the story in a sense. But I guess tonight, as someone who's been part of the British film industry practically his entire life, I think he came out of school in short trousers and a cap and started clapping the board. I think he would agree that 25 years of his career were the happiest he spent were with Dougie Slocum, MBE BSC, and operator Chick Waterson on films such as The Lion in Winter and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. In between those two, I mean, not just those two. He moved up to director of photography in the mid-80s and since photographed over 50 credits, and according to IMDb, is about to start another. Please welcome Robin Vidgeon BSC. So, Robin, if I can start with the boring question, how did you get into the business originally?
I have always been interested in photography. And when I was still at school, or just leaving school, I applied to get into the camera department anywhere. And in those days, you had to be in the union. And just before Christmas that year, I was offered a place at Pinewood Studios, cleaning boxes, which I did for the first year. And the second year, they let me put a clapperboard in on a couple of pictures. And the union made you stay there for 2 years on a provisional ticket. Uh-huh. And at the end of 2 years, Pinewood decided to get rid of all their 5 camera crews. They slung us all out in a workplace, and I knew nobody. My first job outside was with a commercial with Billy Williams. And my second job was they were advertising for a loader at Beaconsfield Studios, the film studios as it was then, National Film School now. And I went to be interviewed by some man called Douglas Slocum and his operator, Chick Waterson. And in those days, I wore a trilby hat, a flasher's mac, and a rolled umbrella. And they'd never seen anyone like me before, so they gave me a job. Uh-huh. And 25 years later, after Temple of Doom, I was being offered jobs to Light, and Dougie let me go. Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
We've got Georgina Slocum here tonight, Dougie's daughter, sitting in the front row here. Hello, Georgina. Hello. And also... and one other. And the other person tonight here is Dennis Fraser, who was the key grip on Rollerball and several of Norman Jewison's pictures. And Dennis is here tonight.
So, Dennis is here to argue with you when you talk about setting up and stuff. Now, Georgina tells me that you were in the end of the film, in one of those audience shots. Did you see yourself? Was it so quick? It was just.
It must have been too quick. I was very young at the time.
Yes.
She was in nappies.
So working with Dougie.
Yeah.
So how was that? You obviously stuck it for a long time, so it must have been good.
It was incredible. I mean, he was working all the time non-stop. And I remember we used to go out to the cottage in Oxford, Chick and myself. We get a call from Dougie. I've got a picture to do, or two. I don't know which one to do. So we always used to go down to the cottage, sit in the garden with long life cans of beer, and we talk about it. Dougie would say, well, I'm not sure which one to do. And we advised him, and he took no bloody notice of us at all. He always did what he wanted. and it was great. We worked with the best directors, all on film. Dougie never did anything digital. And we went all over the world, and we were just a good team. Like the Americans stayed together a long time, their crews, you know, and we stayed together, and we were like every film camera department, we were kind of a family.
Yes. I mean, you were with him really until he retired or
yes.
Stopped shooting.
Yeah. He did 2 pictures. At the end of Temple of Doom, I said to Dougie, can I go? You know, I've been offered a job. And he said yes, and he went off to do Water and Lady Jane, right? Yeah, he did 2 other pictures. and then he retired.
The Last Crusade
So-
as well.
The last?
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yes, he did that one.
He did one other Indiana Jones,
Yes,
but
he
that was
did.
without you.
Yes, yeah.
How did that feel not to be doing it at all?
It was funny because a lot of people wanted to know who they would take on his next movie, which I think, was it Lady Jane or Water? Whichever. Who was going to take my place?
Water was first.
And the person who took my place, nobody believed, but he was brilliant. He always was. Ozzie Morris's focus puller, Morris Arnold.
Uh-huh.
And they got on well. And then that was it. But I kept in touch every week with Dougie right through to the very end.
Yes.
And he was like, I've said this before, he was like my father. You know, he was a very caring man, a very gentle man, and a great talent. Yeah. And great legacy he's left.
So tell us about, on this film, the crew and the actors and the stunts. I mean, it's very complicated.
Cool.
The action's very complicated. And how many cameras would you have used? How many teams would you have used for that?
Do you know, I don't remember. I think we picked on the game in Munich, which was the Olympic cycle track, which had been in use for the Olympics for the year before. And when John Box was taken on board, the officials in Munich said, you can't put anything on the track because we're going to use it. So that whole track is suspended on timber and nothing touches the original track. It's a major piece of design. And all the other sets that John built at Pinewood, the BMW building was a silver building in Munich that we shot in. And I remember queuing up for lunch in the canteen because we didn't need caterers because they got caterers there. And the Germans turned to us and said, you know, we have serious problems with our finance now, but you will be in trouble. Well, we never were for a while, but the Germans went downhill, but now they're back up the top again. But they were taking the piss quite a lot while we were there.
Yes. How about the moving shots? There was a lot of moving stuff in
Well,
there.
a lot of that was down to Dennis because he found a 2CV and he restructured the chassis so that two wheels were up on the track and two wheels were down. So we went around the track level, which was very clever. A lot of the stuff was done moving. Most of the time we had one camera on the car with a zoom on it, which we adjusted from time to time. A lot of the stuff from outside the track, from the audience point of view, was done on a 10:1 zoom. With Dougie, in those days we had 100 ASA stock.
Yes, I remember, yeah.
And he still lit sets to 4. Not 1.4, not 1.2, not 1.5, gentlemen, but 4, all right? Which is very easy to do now with digital cameras.
Yeah.
But it was still hard, you know, those going in on a zoom and we had no video assist on the camera. We all did it by eye, you know.
Yes.
And I used to have the Panavision gun for zooming, and one hand on the knob, one hand on the gun, and chicks say, "Go close, close." He zooms in. Somehow it worked.
Well, there's some spectacular focus putting in that film, I have to say.
Yeah, my laundry bill was quite expensive.
How about lighting on the 2CV? Was they just battery-driven lamps, I would imagine?
I can't remember what he had on there, but I mean, it was lit out of shot all the way. So almost wherever we went, there was light and shade all the way around, you know. And if I remember, before the game started, the light level was a bit low, and they would bring the lamps up for the game. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, as I understand it, there were no rules for the game, actually.
No. It was interesting. After a week, 10 days of rushes, Norman was saying to people, we've got no rules. It's chasing a silver ball. So they brought Brian Smedley Aston in to take all the footage when we'd finished in Munich and create the games. Okay? I have a funny...
But he must have established some rules of operation.
Yeah, you fired a ball,
Yeah.
you pick it up, you slick it in the hole.
Yes.
But that was it.
And
But
you're
the
allowed to
audience...
punch anybody on
and
the
you
way
can
through.
kill anybody on the way around, yeah.
Yes.
Bit like English football.
Yes.
So Brian cut the games together to make sense for an audience, yeah, which was great. I have a funny story about Brian Smedley Aston. We came back from somewhere through Heathrow when you used to have to queue up and go through single customs officer. What have you got there? What have you got there? What have you got there? And Brian came through with a can of 60mm film, quite a lot under his arm. I hope people are broad-minded here. Brian, the custom guy, said, excuse me, so what have you got there? He said, it's 60mm print. He said, what's the film? He said, Deep Throat. He said, on you go. And that was the first copy of that film came into this country.
Uh-huh.
Very good editor, though.
Yes.
And he directed a couple of films as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know the stunt guys had never really done anything quite like it. I mean, the actual angle of the thing. And I remember one stunt guy saying that he thought it was like perpendicular when he first looked at it.
Yeah.
So did they had to practice a lot, presumably?
A lot before we started. It was interesting. We had, I think, 4 different denominations of roller skaters. We had English, German, American, and a few others from Europe. And
presumably the Japanese.
And the Japanese, and the Japanese. But the funny thing was that the Americans had a rule about stunts. They did the stunt first, then went to the office and talked about the rate for the stunt with Larry DeWay.
Right.
And there were 2 big shots in there where somebody comes off a bike and hits the wire netting hard, and one time broke his arm. So he wouldn't go to hospital, on the stretcher, into production office, talk about the fee, and then go to hospital. It's all about money. I know, yeah. They didn't get very much out of Larry, though.
Yes.
He was quite strong.
Yeah, there's somebody I never worked with. So apart from the BMW, and because there were 2 buildings you used there, which was the offices, brand new offices,
Yes.
I think, and the
BMW
museum,
and the museum,
which was that big globular thing.
Yes, yeah.
So what other equipment was that was unusual in
Well, there were no Steadicams then. I mean, all the stuff was done handheld, like walking down the corridors in the stadium when they were talking. That was all on the shoulder. We had a basic range of lenses, including the wide zoom, the short zoom. There's very little speeded up action. We didn't shoot anything. I don't remember shooting anything at 16 frames. It was all done at 24 frames for the cinema. And because it's fast anyway.
Yes.
I think if you speeded that up artificially, it would have looked terrible.
Yeah, would have looked funny.
Yeah. There were
No, in those days also.
Yeah, we did. We had rigs on motorbikes, yeah.
In those days, radio-controlled focus would have been...
No. It was all done on all Panavision gear. Sidney Hamilton wanted to be here tonight, but he couldn't be. They supplied all the equipment, and a lot of it. But no, the zooms we had no video assist at all. It was all wait for the rushes report.
So focusing was manual,
Yes,
on the lens
on the
itself.
lens, yeah.
Which for the handheld stuff is tricky.
It was,
Yeah. What do you want, a medal? And
No, I just want people to understand what focus pulling is all about, you know.
yes, I still think it's an underrated job, but I mean, I'm speaking to the we know all about this stuff, so I feel it's an underrated job on the business.
Nowadays it's the hardest job on the set.
Yes.
And sadly, students who are coming out of film school have no chance of working with film, most of them, and just no digital. And they will never be focus pullers. They come out as DOPs. And they have to understand what every job is. And it is now the hardest job, because the digital cameras are wonderful, I think. You know, I've shot digital stuff. I think they're brilliant. But you've still got to light it. And there's no reason you can't light any sequence, interior, normal lighting, to 4.
Yeah.
But these kids are being sacked off jobs left, right and centre.
Yeah.
Because there's no rehearsing. A lot of blocking doesn't take place. Just shoot it with 3 cameras. You know, it's very sad. And actors don't like it either.
They seem to want to shoot wide open, don't they?
Shoot wide open, but they don't understand why focus pullers are being sacked off jobs.
Yeah.
You know, 2 guys have gone in the last year, top quality focus, world class, who worked with me for years, you know. And they had to stop me going down to the studio to have a go at the DOP who came from another country, because he didn't say you're fired after 2 weeks. He said he got the producer to do it.
Yeah.
No rehearsals. 200mm lens, stop of 2. Where are they going? Not a clue.
Yeah.
90% was sharp, 10% edgy. But they don't understand, you know.
Yeah. Oh, terrifying, I think. I wouldn't like to be going back to that job myself. But, what about post-production at Pinewood? You've got some stories from me from that?
Just a couple. I mean, I don't know why I got involved. I think you told me before there was a 70mm print of Rollerball done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were working on the set one day at Pinewood, and Tony Gibbs, who was a fabulous editor, a lovely guy, I got a call to go to the cutting rooms, the focus puller, right? And I went in there, and no, go to Theatre 7. And in those days, they had dual projectors, 70 and 35. And what he'd done, he'd ordered a 70mm print of a sequence from Technicolor, Denim. And they ran the 35mm sequence on that, and he kept flicking between 70, 35, 7, 35. Well, the 70mm stuff looked amazing. But I don't think at that time they did a 70mm print, but there has been done one since.
Yeah.
But that was all really. And
would the 70mm print been from the original negative, do you think? Or maybe they wouldn't have touched the original negative?
well, there was no digital, and it had to be from.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was from the original neg.
Yeah, enlarged from the original, is what I mean to say.
Yeah. Had to be.
One thing I did notice was that, you know, there's the television screens in the party, which is probably, what, 16mm projectors, I would
Yeah, it was Charlie Staffel, who was the BP specialist at Pinewood, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projectors down the end, and just pumping it onto the screens.
Yes.
It worked. But as you said before, it was really weird seeing those odd-shaped screens, the old-fashioned screens, square screens, yeah.
Which you wouldn't have questioned when it first came out.
No.
But, yeah.
I mean, when we did that, we went, wow, look at all these pictures. And you could press a button. You notice it looked like he was putting a DVD in the bottom of that TV.
Yes.
But it wasn't. You never saw what it was.
No, it's a piece of cardboard.
Piece of cardboard. But it still all worked on cue.
Yeah. I noticed there were some real TV screens in there as well.
Yeah.
So what about synchronizing for that? Because that used to be quite complicated.
Yeah, we had a funny little gizmo that you could dial the bar out. Yeah.
I remember when we first started doing that, it was we didn't realise you had to have the bar in the middle of screen in order for it to be out on the camera. And the very first couple of times we did it, it was always like
there was the bar.
It's in the wrong place.
But it's very quick. I mean, it did work.
Yeah. And you didn't have a computer screen to photograph, I don't think, did you?
No.
Because they were complicated, because they were like 29.97 frames or something. And So do we have some questions from the audience you'd like to ask Robin?
It's all to the bar, isn't it then?
I'm sorry?
Or go to the bar, shall we?
Or go to the bar.
It's really weird. That's when questions happen. When everyone goes in the bar, you get dumped on.
So, anybody got a question to ask? Yes? John?
Give a point to Dennis to tell us about, he was just telling something before you, how he rigged this bike with how many camera?
Good evening, everybody. We rigged a motorbike. I had to rig a motorbike, and Norman wanted me to put rigs on it so that when we shot, that we didn't have to build the rigs every time. So I built this. I built the rigs. 13 rigs I put on one motorbike so that we could go from one position to another without having to reconstruct every time, which obviously saved a lot of time. But I'd like to tell you a story with Robin and talking about Dougie earlier. I worked with Norman on all his pictures in Europe, and Dougie took over from Alex Thompson on Jesus Christ Superstar. And the first morning, the boys arrived, Chick, Dougie, and
me.
And Robin. I forgot his name for a minute. I forgot. Getting old, you see. Anyway,
sorry to tell you, Dennis, but on stage here we can't hear a word you're saying.
You can't hear.
Coming from over there, it's good.
You can't hear.
Yeah, go on, speak.
Anyway, Norman come up to me halfway through the morning when Dougie, Chick, and Robin started work, And he said, "Have you worked with this crew before?" So I said, "Yeah, I've done a couple of films with them." I said, "You know, they're top notch. They're good. You know, they're a good team and everything." So he said, "Well, I'm a bit worried." So I said, "Well, what are you worrying about?" He said, "Well, the focus puller," he said, "I've been watching him all morning," he said, "and he hasn't pulled the tape out." He says, "And Chick," he said, he hasn't got the finder." He said, "He's never used the finder so far." So he went on and he said, and Dougie, he said, "I've been looking at him," he said, "and he hasn't pulled the meter out all day. He keeps looking at his hand and going like that and getting the shadow on his hand." So I said, "Well, I wouldn't worry about it." I said, "because they've done a lot of really good films." And he was really concerned about not using all this equipment that they're supposed to use.
What was the story about?
Nice story.
What was the story about him losing his meter? That's because that's when it started. He didn't use a meter. It was when he lost it, or he couldn't find it.
That story's gone on forever. He did use a meter. On the first day on the set, he'd always take a reading of the key light, and then the meter would go away, and he'd light the set to his eye.
Right.
And just before he'd shot, he'd walk up and he'd just do that to check the density of the shadow. He knew the stop was 4, but he wanted to make sure that the ratio of the shadow on the hand was fine. Yes. That's how he did. But he always took. I remember he was in absolute panic when Kodak brought out the 400 ASA stock. I mean, he was absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
But within a day or two, he was with
Well,
it.
you had to get to know it as well.
Well, all the stocks and all the cameras, they're all different. But no, he was.
There's a story I learned about Dougie, which you may have been there, and you'll probably tell me it's all untrue, but that he said he called out at one point 3.5, and either you or somebody turned around and said, "Well, it's a 4 lens, Dougie," and he said, "Well, make it 4 then."
Yeah. I have got another story about Dougie to make it laugh. We're not talking about Rollerball anymore, but on Julia, we shot in Paris for quite a while, and they built the train, the coach. And we had Jane Fonda sitting in the desk, and she's taking this hat box to Vanessa Redgrave behind the German lines in Berlin, which is a very risky thing to do. And there's something in there that they need. And she's sitting in, it's night, and Dougie had rigged outside the train window a wire with every 4, 5, 6 feet a hanging bulb. And at the end, the spark was pulling this, and it really worked well.
Yes.
And Fred Zinnemann said, right, he said, "I like this very good, Douglas." He said, "Now, you check it all. What I want to do is I want to here with the wide shot, and when I touch you on the shoulder, you zoom in to her reflection. No problem. No track, just to zoom in very gently past her as she goes off to sleep." And it needed a stop change, aperture change on the lens, right? And I always did it. And I started it, and Dougie said, I'll do it on the shutter. I said, no, I'll do it, Dougie. No, I'll do it on the shutter. All right. Next morning in Russia's in Paris, there's the shot, it's fantastic. Zoom past her, beautifully lit, into reflection, the reflection disappears. And Zinnemann said in the dark, "It's a very interesting effect, Douglas, but not what I wanted." He'd gone the wrong way on the shutter.
Yes.
So we did it again, no problem.
Yes. These things happen.
Yeah, you do. We all make mistakes.
Another question.
Yeah, whatever happened to that CV, that Citroen? Did it?
The stuntman took it to America.
It's yours.
I tried to get it, but he got it before me.
Yeah.
But the shots were very, very steady. And that, I mean, I think that's amazing that all that movement, and I could see what was going on. It's not, to see that steadiness without stabilization, without...
Yeah, but the thing is nowadays, and I still run a company anyway, so I'm quite involved with, they can't do, they just can't make a film out today without stabilised heads, gyro stabilised heads. They can't make a film without one. I mean, in my day, when I was around, we didn't have any of that equipment to keep it steady. It's your knowledge. It's the knowledge out to construct and build things that would keep the cameras steady.
Yeah. But the suspension on that car was really good, and what you did to the chassis,
Yeah.
everything worked.
But if they'd done that film today, they'd have gyro stabilised heads that cost, what, £1,000 a day to rent one. Well, you don't need them.
No.
Can I ask a technical question? Was it wood or speed, like scap tube? I mean, how did you physically mount it to the motorcycles, not using stabilized heads?
Well, I built that rig before. I had 6 weeks of prep and I built that. So I constructed it, had it all welded up. So it was all speed rail, but.
Welded to the chassis of the motorcycle.
Oh yeah. So it was a specific piece of equipment, really. But we put lamps on it, we put cameras on it, we went from 6 inches off the ground to 6 foot in the air, off the back, off the side. It worked quite well, really.
There are 3 people on that small car. The driver,
on the car,
the
yeah.
operator, myself, you know.
And there's also a shot there where I was holding James Kahn, holding his legs, and we were going round, and Doug, Chick was behind me.
Yeah.
Shooting. He was doing just that standing.
It all
on.
worked.
So it all worked.
And good
quite well.
cutting.
Yeah.
There was also there was a guy hand holding with roller skates at a 2C area at some point.
Yes. Yeah, we gave one of the. I think it was one of the English guys. We gave a 2C to, with a 200-foot magazine on. He went round, yeah, and picked the bits out.
Was he just an ordinary operator you found, or was he a guy who?
I think they put we put a wide-angle lens on it. He was one of the stunt guys. We said, which one? Who thinks they can do it?
They had 13 American stuntmen on it.
Yeah.
Because in the making of footage, there's a shot of him actually
Running around.
doing
skating
that,
around.
skating.
But it's James Kahn and Johnny Beck. They had to learn to skate like that, and they did quite a few of the stunts themselves.
Yes.
You know, one of the funny things was the second day with John Beck. He got a wicked sense of humour. He said, and he loved Dougie. He really loved Dougie, and he said, Dougie's got this slight. Just before he speaks, he does that. He said, I'm going to use that in the film, and there's several shots in there where just before he speaks, he goes, just like Dougie did. Dougie thought it was very funny. Yeah.
Yes. Another question.
Anything.
Gentleman at the back. I hope you can hear him.
I wanted to know, obviously a lot of the plays, you would have had to rehearse for and things. Was there any point where you could just sort of let them sort of play the game and just follow the action?
I can't remember that.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I really can't remember whether we. There wasn't too much rehearsal.
It was mostly ad lib.
Yeah.
Let them do it, and we filmed.
Yeah, and we picked the bits out.
A lot of people got hurt on it.
There were no, apart from the one broken arm with the American. Obviously, they went home at night bruised, but they were well padded, those guys, and they were all very fit. But to start, what was it you were telling me before, that there was a lot of, there was a censorship? It was given quite a heavy certificate when it came out because it was so violent.
Yeah, it was
And
restricted.
Really,
it was like
violence
we used to call
strong.
X certificate when it first came
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But Robin, wasn't there a TV company that was interested in filming it every week and making a game?
Oh yeah, but they wouldn't do that. You said that.
They decided not to because it was too violent.
Yeah, they also Norman as a producer didn't want anybody using that game to make money in any shape or form. And Norman's still with us, isn't he? He's still in the States.
No, I mean, Norman was, as I said earlier, he was outraged that anyone thought it was a game that they'd all like to play and this could be fun. The whole point of it was that it was a very dangerous game, and it was designed to, like bread and circuses, keep people amused and not thinking about the true situation of the world that's going on around them. Distraction, which is very much like American football. And as I said earlier, it's not. Is it a coincidence that they're wearing American football helmets? And I mean, it's a huge business in America, American football. It's multi-million-dollar thing, and you can't interfere with it. You're not allowed to go near it, and it's all heavily controlled. Who does what? Yes, son.
It's interesting, I heard about Dennis saying he had 6 weeks prep. He said you could film stuff and you could let the game happen and you pick bits out of it. Do you think that you couldn't do that now because you don't have the time and you don't have the freedom and you don't have the infrastructure to let stuff like that happen? Do you think that it's changed now?
I don't think you'd work as fast now as we did on that film. All I'm just saying, you wouldn't, because it's become too technical now. Our side of it is so technical. There's nothing simple. We didn't have any expensive technical equipment. We had Dennis's rigs, which worked really well, the car, which worked really well. Nowadays, if you had a film like, I don't know what they used on the last Rollerball. I haven't seen the last Rollerball.
No, me neither. So,
was that shot on film or digital?
I have no idea. I'm so sorry.
No.
But the thing about today is that from when I was around, is that you had no equipment. You had to build it on the day.
Yeah.
You had to build it before the show. Now you can walk into a rental company and get all this equipment. You've got gyro stabilized heads. You've got cranes, telescopic cranes, all different sizes. You've got car rigs, which I've designed over the years, all different grip equipment. It's like a toy shop now for a grip to go into a place. If he wants to do a particular shot, he can go and rent that equipment to do it. In my day, you had to build it. It wasn't around.
No. But for me,
does that answer your question? Sorry. Sorry.
Does that make it better today?
Well, I think it does for the grips because it's there for them.
Specific shots, you still have to build something.
Oh yeah, you do.
In today.
Yeah.
The thing that does everything doesn't do the shot.
That's right. But at the end of the day, you've got all this extra equipment to be able to
but
do
you
it
had your
with.
rigs, you could track
Yeah.
onto it, it was on the throttle,
Yeah.
it was on the eye, it wasn't.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wasn't it?
Absolutely.
so when we shot, I got to tell you, when we shot film for the last 100 years, it was simple. And look at the films that are still being run, although they're now being digitized. They were shot on film. Okay, we didn't have all this technical stuff. It was a very simple, disciplined business. Now the discipline has gone out of it because of these cameras. I think they're stunning cameras. They're beautiful images, but the discipline on a film set now, and we keep in touch with crews that are working, and we know that things are going really well on set and when they're not going well on set. And the digital, especially for new students coming in, digital has made them lazy. That's a fact. Anybody can argue with me, and I'll beat them down on this. It really pisses me off that they come out of film school thinking they're all going to be DOPs, with having done nothing else. I told you I'd get off my pram. Shut up. Right, thank you. I teach students. No, I don't teach. I try to pass on my experience in the camera department, to new students coming through. Most of them get it. But when they actually come out in the world, the pressure is the schedules are so tight.
Yeah.
And it's very expensive filmmaking now, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting back to Rollerball, was there anything storyboarded in that show?
Oh yeah, the games. John Box did drawings, art department drawings, and I don't think like Spielberg does storyboards for every department, every scene, as a guide, especially when the CGI work. But I don't remember ever seeing storyboards for Rollerball.
So it's really made up as you went along, in a sense.
From the script, yeah.
I mean, I don't mean the dialogue scenes, obviously,
No.
but the action scenes.
The games particularly. But for me, again, after so long, they still worked.
Yeah.
I mean, some is quite shocking, and the stunt work was brilliant.
Yeah.
Really good.
No, the film works very well as well, I think.
Yeah.
It's still very of the moment.
Yeah. I mean, 3 people I've spoken, I can't remember this week, I've had quite a few phone calls about tonight, and 3 of them, older people, have said, that's still one of my favourite films.
It
Right.
played, when it opened, it played for like a year in New York somewhere,
Yeah,
continuously.
Yeah.
It was that well thought of.
yeah.
Gentleman at the back.
Hi, Robin. Do you recall what stocks Dougie filmed on?
Yeah, there was only one then. I think, no, there was 100 ASA Kodak.
Yeah.
That was all there was.
Yeah, because 75 was, I was still doing documentaries then, and it was 100 ASA.
Yeah,
I remember,
yeah.
I think it was Fuji was the first one to
47.
come out with a faster stock. But,
Yeah, Fuji took a while to come on board, really. And we
they had a faster stock, but the colours were not right.
No,
That was the
they
idea.
always had a slight colour bias, Fuji, to start with, but they had a meeting. They came from Japan, and we had a BSC meeting, and they said to us, "What stock do you want us to supply?" And we said, "Well, we want something that's a little more contrasty." And one of the Technicolor bosses said to me when I started lighting, he said, "I think that Japanese art is very delicate, and the scientists who make the Japanese stock take that delicacy into their. Whereas in the States, they make the stock for Los Angeles, where
Yeah.
the sun does that every day, and it's
Yeah.
a contrasty light." But within a year, we had a good choice of stocks.
Yeah.
And now Kodak. Yeah, somebody told me last week or 2 weeks ago that I don't know who it was, but a tutor in a film school said to students, "Film's finished. Forget film. Bullshit. Kodak are flat out at the moment. They can't make the stock fast
Yeah.
enough. The labs are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and certain directors will not shoot anything other than film." There's room for both.
Yes.
We all should have a choice of what we shoot on.
It's very interesting that Brian Tofano at the National Film School, he said his theory was if you can shoot film, you can shoot anything. Once you understand film, what it actually means, you can shoot anything else.
Yeah. And Kodak also, I spoke to Sam Clark to ask him if anything I could bring up tonight that's new that no one's heard about. Well, at the end of the year, they are bringing out Ektachrome again on 16mm, Super 8, and then if it works for that, then they'll bring it out on 35 as well. But then you'll catch the cameraman out because you've got no latitude whatsoever.
Yeah.
You've got to get the exposure absolutely spot on. You can't fix it in post, as some students tell me.
No. Good learning curve.
Yeah.
If there's nobody else with another question, we might repair to the bar
For a free drink.
and enjoy an imbibition or two. And my thanks very much to Robin Vidgeon BSC.
Okay.